checked the timetable like 5 times. I even asked the academics to check if the timetable changed, because I'm like, where are you guys? Like, what is happening here? Guys, I feel so stupid. The amount of stupid that I feel right now is just, I can't explain it to you guys. Okay, I'm so sorry. And honestly, at this point, I feel like I can't apologize enough. Okay. I'm just gonna have to get over this. I'll go and buy myself 5 milkshakes when I'm done, or when we are done, so I can just feel better. I'm gonna put myself in a hole somewhere, I promise. Yeah, but at least we now have a recording on the whole of chapter 8, because I was recording it in another class, which is like, anyway, okay. Just getting myself together, guys. I'm just quickly loading the slides. We are going to do chapter 8 today. I'm so glad you guys joined. I'm so glad, because I was really like thinking, why would not even my regulars be on CoLab? Like, I even wanted to ask your previous class that you guys have, the ECTL lecturer, if you guys joined her sessions, because why aren't you guys in my sessions? Anywho, okay, I'm going to stop babbling and then we can actually start with class now. Okay, so guys, we're going to chat about chapter 8 today. So remember, we have already discussed chapter 7. Chapter 7 is the planning phase, and that's the first step in the management process. I will load the one past paper that I just gave to the face-to-face students. I will upload that chapter for you guys as well, where they actually refer to the planning, organizing, leading, and controlling as the management functions. Okay, so they're not referring to them as the management process, they refer to them as the management functions, and that was actually a question in 2019's, I think, other exam or test paper. Guys, then I also downloaded 2 test papers from last year's take-home tests. So what I will do is I will upload them for you. I will upload them under more resources and then revision. So that will be the last option under more resources, just so that you guys can work through these past papers and get an understanding of what type of questions they ask. There's always feels to me like there's some recurring questions that they always ask. There's some things that they always try and test. So guys, let's start. Okay, chapter 8. So guys, chapter 8, like we said, we are going to focus on organizing, and the other 2 chapters that we'll do when you guys are coming back from after test week will be leading and controlling, and then the last one is chapter 11, that most essentially compromises of all the other small chapters in the textbook. Okay, so guys, just as I see more people entering, I'm just continuously keep on apologizing. Okay, I can never apologize enough to you guys. Honestly, the first time this has ever happened to me, but I'm now going to get over it so we can do chapter 8. Okay, so guys, what is organizing? What does organize essentially mean? So remember in chapter 7, we spoke about the plans and the different plans that an organization has to make. But now the problem is that these plans have to be implemented. And organizing essentially deals with how the managers will decide on how to implement these plans, and they will implement them through delegation and coordination. So if we look at the definition of what organizing is, this is the process of delegating and coordinating tasks, activities, and the resources in order to achieve the organizational objectives. So guys, as we continue with the leading and controlling as well, remember, we always have to go back to the resources of the organization, which is chapter 1, as well as the objectives of the organization, which will be chapter 7. Where do we want to be? Where do we see ourselves? Okay. Okay, let me just quickly write an apologetic message to everyone, then everyone knows. Okay, so like we said, organizing is the second component of the management process or the second management function. And what managers have to do here is that they have to combine all the resources. So human resources, capital, you have your entrepreneurship, raw materials, information, and knowledge in order to achieve the combined goal of the organization. Guys, remember in chapter 7 we said that no matter at what level of management you are, or not, it doesn't even matter if you're an employee, everyone plans, everyone has goals. And this also relates to the organizational, to organizing. Everyone organizes, no matter at what type of level you are inside of the business. So all of this combining of resources leads to an organizational structure. So what an organizational structure is, it is formal tasks that are assigned to every person inside of the company, and formal reporting relationships are established inside of this company. And by designing a structure of who does what, we can essentially ensure effective coordination inside of the company. So why do we need organizing? Why is it important? It provides a detailed analysis of the work that needs to be done and the resources that we are using to actually accomplish those goals. So organizing essentially divides up the workload inside of the company so that these different tasks can be comfortably performed by an individual or a group. So guys, think about it. Imagine top management had to do everything. Okay, they did everything. They would be very overworked, very overstressed, crying every day, going to different people, asking them, please help us, please help us. No one is helping them. What you have to do inside of a company, like we looked at the definition of organizing, is you have to delegate the work. And delegating the work comes with dividing the workload into activities and handing that out to other employees. It also relates to it promotes productive deployment and utilization of the resources, and it groups the activities and individuals together. So, for instance, think if a marketing person sat with finance, who sat with sales, who sat with HR, who sat with IT. It will just be chaos. You have to group your tasks and individuals together, and that is essentially how we get departments. Okay, everyone that has something to do with marketing is grouped inside of the marketing department. Then guys, and I can see my little, the size does change a little bit when I show it like this, but it also assists with the development of an organizational structure that results in a mechanism that will coordinate the activities inside of the whole business into a complete and uniform unit. Okay. So guys, the next thing we're going to look at is the building blocks of the organization. And this is essentially what we're going to do for the rest of this chapter. We are going to look at each building block separately. Okay, sorry guys, I'm just checking my internet connection. Okay, so guys, there are 5 building blocks that we're going to look at. The first one is designing jobs. The second one is grouping your jobs. So this is what we refer to as departmentalization, in which departments are essentially going to work. Then establishing reporting relationships, establishing authority relationships, and coordinating the activities. So guys, the first one is designing the job. So when we design a job from scratch, we have to go and determine what are the responsibilities of this job. So if we can look at the ideal person that is going to perform this job, we have to go and determine what will their skills be and what will their responsibilities in this job be. So this is the departure point in determining the level of specialization within the organization. Do they have to supervise other employees? If they do, then that will, for instance, refer to lower level management. Then if we look at job specification, so job specification specifies what must be done and it sets the performance standards. Remember in chapter 7 we spoke about that. I still gave you guys the example about a chocolate cake. If I said to you guys, I want you guys to bake something, everyone pitches up there with different things, and I said to you guys, you're all wrong. Everyone did this wrong. Okay, that is not fair on you. I have to explain to you what is expected of you so that we can look at the performance at the end. If I said I wanted a chocolate cake with chocolate icing and white sprinkles at the top, and you guys brought rusks, then we can say you did not perform the job effectively, and we, for instance, have to take additional steps. Then when we look at specialization, so specialization is the way in which the task is broken up into smaller pieces, and this essentially assists with specialization of the task. So you will essentially become a specialist in that part of the task that you are responsible for. Instead of giving someone 10 or 15 things to do that they have to succeed in, that they have to specialize in, what's going to happen is that at the end we know that they're not going to execute everything effectively. They're not going to be as good in every single of the 15 tasks. So let's rather break up the tasks and give everyone only 3 or 4 things to do, for instance. And that will lead to specialization. So guys, an example that I can use, for instance, Adam Smith he still created this. He actually did an experiment, and he went to a company that produced pin needles. So he saw that every single person inside of this company would cut the wire, sharpen the wire, and then put the pin on the needle. And then what he said is, why don't we rather specialize? So we get one person to cut the wire, we get another person to sharpen the wire, and then we get another person to put the pins on the needles. And that is essentially where specialization came from. If you guys had business studies or economics at school, you'll probably remember specialization. So guys, what I quickly want to show you, let me just quickly stop this slide. I quickly want to show you guys something else. Okay, so I actually just quickly Googled this, a sales manager job. Let me just quickly find the one that I was looking for. Okay, so this is the actual advert for a sales manager, guys. This is in Midrand in Gauteng. And if we look at what skills this person would need, they need to have either a diploma or a degree. They need to have professional sales experience. They need to be able to, they need to own their own car in order to attend meetings. And then they need to fit into the corporate company culture. And we are late in the chapter, we are actually going to discuss the corporate company culture and just how important company cultures are inside of a company. Then if we go down to the different requirements, so this will be what we are also required of the person. They must meet their quarterly targets. They need to have good communication skills. They need to be able to be willing to work under pressure. So guys, the under pressure thing is quite big, because we already know that if the person cannot work under pressure, this will not be the ideal person for this job. Then what will their responsibilities or their duties be? Any job advert will also list all their duties or responsibilities. So for instance, they have to cold call, they have to set their revenue targets, they need to have extensive client relationship management, they need to submit weekly or monthly lead generation reports, attend weekly sales meetings, manage client expectations, for instance. Okay, so guys, this is the responsibility. So when you do job design, you need to start at the bottom and say, what do we expect from this specific person or from this specific job even? Okay, let me quickly go back to just to the chapter. Okay, so when we design a job, certain things that we have to consider. The first one is who. So who would be the ideal person to come and work or come and perform this job? So that's what we said earlier about if I had to think of the ideal person that I want for this job, what skills will they need? What education do they need? What responsibilities will they have to perform and will they have to achieve? Then what tasks are performed? Where is this job? The geographic nature of either the company or where the person will work. Maybe the person's a salesperson and they're going to have to travel a lot. Then when we look at the when, we look at the time of day. So remember that not all jobs are 8 to 5. If you think of security guards, you can think of cleaners, doctors, even people that do cold calling. They work at different times of the day. They do not do 8 to 5 jobs. So when we employ this person, they have to be aware of the fact that they might have to work from 12 until 8 or from 6 to 6, for instance. Then the why. Why do we need this job? Why do we require this job? Did we create this job because our other employees are currently struggling? Then the how. How are we going to evaluate their performance and how are we going to keep this person motivated? Think of salary, think of bonuses. Earlier in the other class, we also did one of a car sales representative. So just essentially someone that sells cars. And they actually get medical aid and they also get Provident Fund, which I think is quite a big bonus. Okay, this is not something that every single company does. So if you ever were thinking of selling cars, for instance, then go and look into car sales. You get medical aid and you also get a Provident Fund. Okay, so guys, the next one I'm looking at is the benefits of specialization. This was in a previous paper, but they didn't call it the limitations of specialization. They called it the disadvantages of specialization. So when we look at the benefits and the limitations of specialization, we always think that specialization is such a good thing. But as when we look at the limitations, you guys will see that it also does have some negative effects as well. So the benefits, the workers perform very small and simple tasks. They can become experts in these small or simple tasks. The transfer time between the tasks decreases. If an employee, for instance, has to perform different tasks, they have to switch from one task to the other, from one task to the other. But now we have limited the amount of tasks that they have to do. So the transfer time between the tasks will decrease. Then the more narrowly defined the job is, so the less tasks that there is that the employer has to do, the easier it will be to develop specialized equipment to assist the person with that job. And the last one is that if an employee, for instance, resigns, it will be much easier to train someone on 3 or 4 tasks than what it will be to train someone on 10 or 15 different tasks. Limitations, guys, if you only have 3 or 4 things to do every day, you become bored, okay? You will become bored, you'll have low quality of work, you'll essentially become negative. Only the first week will be challenging to you. And from there, you know, it's like, why do I have to get up? Why do I have to go to work? I wish I had more responsibility, for instance. And then this transfer time doesn't always happen. So what happens is that with one of the other limitations, it says the anticipated benefits of specialization do not always occur. Because if we, for instance, look at, let's say we are stapling papers, we are then folding the paper, and then we're putting it in an envelope. So if person A staples, person B folds, and person C puts it in an envelope, sometimes it will just actually go quicker if one person staples, folds, and puts it into an envelope than giving it over to someone else who's going to perform the next task, for instance. Okay. So guys, when we look, the next thing we're going to look at is job rotation, job enlargement, job enrichment, and then the work teams. So job rotation, guys, this is where we move employees from one job to another. So this actually doesn't happen in a lot of companies. And if it happens, it will be very small. It will be such a small change that you actually will not really even notice it. Sorry guys, I just forgot to drink something. Okay, so job rotation is where you might move employees from one product to another product, or from one project to another project. Then job enlargement, this is where we increase the amount of tasks that an employee has. So we maybe move from 4 tasks that the employee has to do to 6 tasks that they are now responsible for. Then job enrichment is where we increase their tasks, but we also increase their responsibility. So think, for instance, of a person that now has to supervise 2 or 3 people in their team, or think of a team leader as well. So not only do they have their tasks increase, so the amount of work that they have to do, but they also now have to supervise the other people inside of the team. Guys, and the last one is work teams. So with work teams, this is essentially where you have a group inside of a department, and you will say to them, they need to determine who does what, by when it has to be done, and also when they, for instance, want their meetings, who is going to report back to the manager, for instance. So in a work team, you still give them tasks, you still give them a job to do, but the rest they can determine amongst themselves. They can determine how do they want to divide this job, who would they like to report back to the manager, for instance. So the rest is based up to them. Guys, the next thing we're going to look at is the grouping of jobs. Okay, guys, please let me know if everyone's still good, everyone's still fine. Okay, let's hope so, that everyone's still here. Okay, guys, I'm assuming everyone's still here. Just give me a thumbs up. I know you guys are still good. Just one thumbs up will be fine. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you to Melio. Thank you to Glady. We're all good. Okay. So, guys, remember in the beginning of the chapter, we spoke about departmentalization, that we have to group individuals and tasks together. So each company is essentially different, and we are going to look at the different companies and how they might prefer to group their departments and their individuals or tasks together. So departmentalization promote specialization because it's only a logical thing to group activities and individuals together. So we are going to look at functional, product, location, customer, departmentalization, and then the last one is the matrix organizational structure. Guys, we are literally going to go from easy to the most difficult. Okay, first one, functional departmentalization. Remember that departments are also called functions, so that's why it's a functional departmentalization. And this is where we divide the company according to the job functions. So marketing, financial, production, and HR. Each of these will be a different department, and all of them will have different, they might have lower level management, and they will also have different employees that only work inside that specific department. Then the next one we're looking at is product departmentalization. So guys, an example here of product departmentalization is EDGARS. So remember with EDGARS, EDGARS essentially consists out of, EDCON, so EDCON consists out of EDGARS, CNA, and then JET. So what EDCON did is they divided the company up into three. So EDGARS is essentially its own company. CNA is its own company, and JET, before they sold JET to Foschini Group, JET is also its own company. So EDGARS has its own marketing, financial, HR manager. CNA has its own HR, financial, IT, what else are we? Marketing manager, and the same with JET. So if we look at this example here, let me just quickly use my tool. With this one, for instance, we have consumer products and then we have industrial products. You guys can see that under consumer products, we have the consumer products has its own marketing, financial, production, and HR manager. Same with industrial products. So although they are one company, inside of this big company, they have essentially divided into smaller companies. Okay. The next one that we're going to look at, guys, is location departmentalization. So this is similar to product departmentalization, except it's based on location, not on the products. So think of a company that may have different smaller offices all over South Africa. Once again, for instance, if we take the manager at the Eastern Cape, the manager of the Eastern Cape will have its own marketing, own financial, own production, and its own HR manager. The same with the manager in Western Cape, Gauteng, and then KwaZulu-Natal. So everyone will have is essentially their own little company. Okay. Guys, and the next one we're going to look at is customer departmentalization. So with customer departmentalization, similar to location and product departmentalization, but this is where we divide the company up according to a segment in the market. So if we look at the American Express, for instance, they have a different company, a smaller company or department for cards, for travel, for shopping, for business services, and for financial services. Similar to the one here, there is a manager for the electronic equipment for the TV industry, and then there's a manager for the electronic equipment for the South African Air Force. Underneath this manager, they will have their own lower level management, so they will have their own marketing, production, HR, finance, and they will have their own employees. Okay, so guys, the next one we're going to look at is the matrix organizational structure. So what happens in the matrix organizational structure is on the one side, and guys, this is generally only used with projects when we are running projects. will use this type of structure, and they work very well. Okay, so let's start at the top. We have an operational manager who's responsible for 3 different product managers. If we look at financial manager is responsible for 3 different financial managers, and the same with HR. On the side, we have a project manager, and this is Project Impala. This project manager is responsible for meeting the objectives of the project, and he will work together with the production manager, the financial, and the personnel manager. So these 3 managers will help the project manager to meet the objectives of that specific project. So this production manager here, let me just quickly do this. Okay, this production manager here essentially reports to the operational manager, and he reports to the project manager. So he will report back to the project manager on how far it is with the project, and he might report back to the operational manager on what he has done inside of his department, what operational aspects he has done, what operational objectives he has met inside of the department. So in this as well, the project manager and the functional manager, the operations, finance, and HR manager will have the same authority. These three managers, and these 3 project managers have the same authority. Okay, guys, let's quickly just take a break. I just quickly want to go and grab a sip of water. Let's just come back at like 20 past. Luckily, this is not a big chapter. Let's come back at 20 past, and then we can continue. Okay, guys, let's continue. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the third building block is going to be establishing reporting relationships inside of the business. So guys, unfortunately, this chapter is very theory heaven, theory heavy. So yeah, but there is an ICE activity at the end of the chapter, which is on VC Learn. It's 5 questions that you guys have to answer. Okay, so let's just quickly, we're almost done with the chapter. Like I said, it's not a very big chapter anyway, which makes it a little bit nicer, although it is very theory heavy. Okay, so the first thing that we have to look at in establishing the reporting relationships is we need to develop a clear and precise reporting line. Remember that as an employee, you have to report to your lower level manager, who will report to the middle level manager, who will report to top management. And this is essentially what a chain of command is. We also need to determine the span of management, sometimes called the span of control, and that will determine how many people will report to one manager. So when we look at the chain of command, and the chain of command is essentially a clear and a distinct line of authority among the positions inside of the organization. It has 2 components. The first one is the unity of command. So guys, as an employee or as a lower level manager, you need to have a clear reporting relationship as to who am I reporting to, and you should only report to one supervisor. You guys can imagine how confusing it will be if you are reporting to 3 different managers. Everyone is telling you something different. Everyone is saying, no, I want it done this way. Why didn't you do this? Mine is more important. So there needs to be a clear reporting relationship as to who am I reporting to, as well as there only needs to be one supervisor or one manager that I'm reporting to. Then we have the scalar principle. So guys, you can make a note here. Scalar principle was asked in previous papers. There needs to be a clear and an unbroken line of authority that extends from the lowest to the highest position in the organization. So guys, what they mean with an unbroken line? Imagine you are reporting to your lower level manager. They are reporting to the middle level manager, and then it kind of stops. Okay, it doesn't continue to top management. There needs to be clear lines down the organization and up again as to who reports to who. Okay. It doesn't just stop somewhere. You don't just tell your manager, oh, this is what I did, and then they go, oh, thank you so much. They will always report to their manager on what their team did. And the problem, or the thing that that assists chain of command, is that it keeps people accountable for every decision that they've made. When you have a chain of command, you essentially have a sense of accountability, because I have to report back to my lower level manager what I did. If I didn't perform this task properly, if I maybe made a mistake somewhere, I have to report that back. I can't go and hide behind something. Same with a lower level manager that has to report on what his team did to middle level management. You can't then go back and say, no, go and ask him. Ask him why he didn't do his job. Okay. It falls on you. That accountability falls on you. And as a lower level manager, you are being held accountable for what your employees did or did not do. Then the next thing we're going to look at is the span of management. So guys, the span of management refers to, like we just said, refers to the amount of people that are reporting to me. So guys, we can have a narrow or a narrow or a wide, or it's also called a broad or a flat structure. So if we have a narrow structure, and a narrow structure is this one here. So you will have very few employees here at the bottom who reports to maybe one manager. And then you will have one manager above them, that maybe two managers here reports to one manager, two managers here report to another manager. And this will lead to a very tall organizational structure. There's going to be a lot of reporting. There's a lot of steps to climb, essentially, to get all the way up to top management. And your managers will be underutilized because they won't really have anything else to do except to listen to whatever the person below them said. So your managers won't really have any work to do. And there'll be lots of control over the employees because this manager here only has maybe 2 employees that he's looking after. Where have you been? Why are you late? Like me, lecturers can also be late. Why haven't you done this? What are you doing now? Why are you on your phone? Okay, so there's lots of control over the employees. Yeah. If we have a broad, flat, or a wide structure, this is, for instance, you guys can see here where one manager might have 10 or 20 or 30 employees that they have to look after. It can be very difficult to coordinate because you have to make sure that you can actually spend time with every single person inside of your team. And it can be difficult to control the amount of employees on the team. Imagine having 30 or 40 people that you have to look after, that you're responsible for, and you have to make sure that everyone does their job. Okay, so it can become a little bit difficult. Okay, so guys, the fourth block that we're going to look at is establishing authority relationships. So remember that in organizing, what we said in the beginning is we assign tasks to all the staff or the employees inside of the business. And assigning a task to someone gives them responsibility and authority. So responsibility is the duty to perform the task, and authority is the right to command or to give orders to other people. Even like a project management team leader, okay, they also have authority over the rest of their team, for instance. If we were in class and I said to one of you, you are the class captain for the week, that will essentially give you authority to tell the other students what to do. Maybe that's not a good idea. Okay, I don't think we should do that. So under authority, we have line authority, and then we have staff authority. So guys, line authority is a delegated form of authority that's down through the line of command. So it goes down the company from top to middle to lower. So this is where the managing director who sits at top management has authority over the financial, HR, and the marketing manager. Similar, the marketing manager will have authority over everyone inside of his department. So he can give them instructions and give them tasks to do. Staff authority, guys, is not how can I say, it's not a delegated authoritative line, if I can say it like that. It's very indirect. This can, for instance, be like a legal advisor that maybe just gives advice to a marketing department. The legal advisor is not the manager of the marketing manager, so he's just there to give them advice. Okay, so this is not an official down the line of command form of authority like line authority is. Then delegation. So sometimes managers might have to delegate tasks to other employees. So they will essentially transfer their authority over to you. Maybe they are going on a holiday and they're asking one of you to please just look after the rest of the employees. Imagine I said to you guys, sorry, I am going to be late today. One of you guys should please just continue with the class in the meantime. I will join later on. Okay, that is a form of delegation. Then we have decentralization and centralization. So guys, what's important to know here is that we need to move towards decentralization, not towards centralization. So decentralization is essentially where top management will give away some of their power, authority, responsibility to middle and lower level management. So they're not passing the buck. I don't want you guys to think that they are now giving their work to someone else to do, because that's not the truth. They're just giving them that power and authority to also make decisions on their behalf without having to come to them every single time and asking them, what about this? What about this? What about this? Then centralization is where you maintain the power and authority inside of management. So the problem that you have here is that a manager essentially will never be able to take a holiday because his employees will constantly ask, what's this? What are we doing here? They can't do anything without management's input and without management's approval. And that is quite a problem. So that's why I said we have to move towards decentralization, not towards centralization. We want our team of employees or managers to be able to work on their own instead of having to come and ask us for advice constantly. Okay, so guys, the last block we're looking at is the coordinating of activities. So with coordinating of activities, this is the process we now have to link everyone together. Remember when we spoke about, I think it was in chapter 6, we spoke about the word interdependent, and we said this is like a car. So the steering wheel is separate from the petrol tank, is separate from the wheels, and the steering wheel doesn't need the petrol tank to be able to turn. Okay, the petrol tank doesn't need the wheels to be able to provide petrol to the car. So as much as they are independent of each other, they are also dependent on each other. A car can't drive without a steering wheel or without a petrol tank or without wheels. So we need to coordinate all the different activities that takes place in an organization in an effective way so that our employees do not lose sight of what the overall goal of the company actually is. As much as the marketing department can work separately from the finance department, they still need each other. So that is why they have to work interdependently with each other. So guys, the next thing we're going to look at is the informal organization. So with the informal organization, and I know my slide went like a little bit over, I will just, when I do the PDF, guys, I'll make sure that you guys can see this. But why have the picture of the grapevine? Because this is what an informal organization is. Inside of the organization, there will be informal interpersonal relationships between people. When you start working in a company, and if you guys are maybe already working inside of companies, you already would have sussed out who the person is that will always give good advice, who the person is that I should rather avoid, who the person is that maybe is a little bit negative about the life and work, and who the person is that you can, for instance, trust. So interpersonal relations is not defined by the formal organizational structure. That is why it's an informal organizational structure. This is how the people have, like I said earlier, sussed themselves out. They've kind of grouped themselves into a group of friends that always have lunch together, for instance. I worked in a company where a few people from different departments always had lunch together, and all of them would bring something separate, and then they would all divide up their food, and all of them would have a salad or a cooked meal, for instance, and everyone just had to bring one thing, and they would all chat together every single lunch. Okay, so in an informal organization, social relations are established, there's informal communication, and this has to be encouraged. The reason for this is that informal communication takes place much more rapidly than formal communication because it goes down the grapevine, guys. How long does it take to hear something from a manager versus to hear something from a manager's friend who maybe knows someone else, who knows someone else, who quickly just said, listen, like, I've got some inside info. You don't have to hear what they are planning with the company. Okay. It also promotes teamwork within the department and it supports the formal organization. Then the next thing we're going to look at is the factors. So guys, there's just 2 more slides left. The factors that influence organizational structure. So what I quickly want to do, I showed this to the other students the other day, and this is like for me the coolest thing. So guys, King Price, I do not know anyone at King Price. I just want to say that. But I am absolutely in love with King Price. I don't know why. I just think it's the coolest company to work for. I think because they have the Avengers theme going maybe, and I like the Avengers. But anyway. Okay, so I will show you guys now the cool video that King Price made. The first thing that we look at that influences the organizational structure. And guys, remember when we talk about organizational structure, these are the different types of departmentalizations. So a stable environment, guys, there's not really any change. Think of like a fast-moving consumer goods. Think of Unilever, for instance, and they can have a functional customer or a location departmentalization structure. Then we have a turbulent environment. So this is where change is literally the norm. Think of pharmaceuticals, and I know we're going to speak about IT, but think about IT as well. So they will benefit from a product departmentalization. And the last one is technology. So with technology, we all know that technology changes every day. And the more managers we have inside of a company, the more levels of management we will also need. So a technology-dominated environment will benefit from customer departmentalization. Guys, then the next thing is the relationship between strategy and structure. There has to be both strategy and structure inside of a company. And you cannot separate the two. With strategy comes structure. Then the size of the business, guys, honestly, if you have 10 employees inside of your company, you don't need three different managerial levels. Okay. So we need to look at the number of employees and the managers that we are responsible for, and that needs to be coordinated. So guys, let me just quickly show you this video before we move on to the last two factors. Let me just quickly get it. You guys can also go and find this on there. If you're not, like I said, I'm not promoting King Price, but if you're not already following King Price on Instagram, please do so. Like I said, I honestly feel that they're such a cool company. Okay, let me quickly go to that specific video. So guys, I cannot make this video bigger than what it is at the moment. I have tried, but like I said, I can't. Okay, so you guys will just might have to watch it. I know it's quite small, but follow them on Instagram, then you guys can see the whole video. Okay, so guys, like I said, like if you guys ever want a job, Go and look at King Price. It looks so cool, and I'm super jealous all the time. Did you guys see the cool gumballs? And it says, how happy are you? So I think there you can like choose a gumball from determining on how happy you are. They've got foosball tables. They have like that Lego fire walk that you can probably walk as like a challenge or something. So like I said, I just think it's such a nice company to work for. To be honest, if you guys know, Outsurance has an equally cool organizational culture. I know as well that Nedbank also does a lot for their employees, where they can go and sit and relax and everything. So yeah, I'm not saying that obviously people at King Price work exceptionally hard, but yeah, it just looks like they have so much fun at the same time. Then the next thing that can influence organizational structure is the staff that is employed by the business. Okay, there needs to be a close relationship between the organizational structure and the competence and the role of the employees. Then the next one is the organizational culture. So guys, the culture of a company. These are the beliefs and the values that are shared by the people inside of the business. So it's essentially the personality of the business. That's why King Price loaded that video. They also have similar videos where they've shown if you're a new employee at King Price, you get like a little Lego play set that you can play with. Once again, I think it's like super cool, but anyway. So that is their culture. Okay, they clearly have a fun teamwork kind of culture where everyone can work together. And when they employ someone, they are going to look for someone that will share and join their culture as well. So questions that you can ask of organizational culture is, how do we do things? How do we relate to our employees? How do our employees relate to us as well? If you have a company where everyone wears pajamas and you pitch up there in your three-piece suit, you are going to feel a little bit out. Everyone might look at you a little bit weird as well. So you need to really, when you guys one day go for interviews at jobs, and I remember I asked this at a job once, and I asked, what is the dress code here? And I remember the person kind of looked at me. She sat there in her jeans, and she's like, no, this is the dress code. This is what we wear. And I sat there with like my fanciest clothes I've ever had. And I said to her, oh, this is what we wear at the company where I was currently working. And that was 100% the truth. So when you go for an interview one day, ask them about the organizational culture, because as much as they want to see if you are going to fit in with their organization, you also want to see if you are going to fit in with them. Okay, so guys, the last slide is just an ice that I want you guys to do for me. Let's quickly chat about dates. You guys are going to probably hate me now, but I have a plan. Okay, I have a plan here. So guys, what I wanted to do, activity 8.2.2 is essentially just a test, and it's a multiple choice test, and there are 5 questions. Okay, guys, there are literally 5 questions. So I quickly want to check with you guys with regards to dates, as to the due date for this ice. Okay, let's quickly check. So guys, remember chapter, okay, let's start at the top. Okay, so guys, remember that ice task 4, which is activity 6.1.1. Okay, so let's start. Activity 6.1.1 is due on the 12th of May. Then ice task 5, which is the long-term strategies or the long-term goals, that is due on the 17th of May. Okay, 17th of May. And then ice task 6, let me just make a note. Ice task 6 is then activity 8.2.2. Guys, can we make this for 31st of May? Will that be fine, 31st of May? Because in 31st of May, guys, this is then essentially, this is the last ice task that you guys will do. Because then we would have done all 6 of them. Okay. So let's say about the 31st of May, I want this ICE task also done. Is everyone happy with the 31st of May? Remember that you guys can actually go and do this ICE task now. I actually did it yesterday. It's really just 5 questions. Okay, it's just 5 questions. Okay, guys, please let me know if everyone's happy with the 31st of May. Let's quickly say ICE task 6, activity 8.2.2, 31 May. Okay. Please let me know if you guys are happy. I will load it as well. If I haven't loaded it yet, I'll just go and double check. Okay, I might have already loaded it, I think. Okay, cool. So guys, the last thing I just want to speak about, this is the last time I'm going to see you guys before your test that you guys are writing. You guys are writing on the 28th of May at the moment. That's the date that I still have for you. And I will come and see you guys on campus that day. I have done so much test prep with you guys. So I'm really confident that you guys will be fine in the test. Like I said earlier, I have 3 more test papers that I will upload for you guys that you guys can work through. It's just so that you guys can see what type of questions they ask, what they see as important. So it's just for yourself. Okay, guys, please remember that your test, let me just quickly double check here. Sorry, guys. Let me just quickly check. Okay, remember that your test is on chapter 4 to chapter 8. We have now done chapter 8. Okay, so chapter 8 is done. So please make sure that you study everything from chapter 4 to chapter 8. Okay. Not like the other class where I said 1 to 6, and then I thought it was chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 6. Okay. So you guys have to study chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, as well as chapter 8. Okay. Guys, I'm still here, essentially. I'm not going on holiday or anything. So if you have any questions, if you guys are concerned about anything, please email me. I will respond to your email, I promise. If I don't do it the same day, I will respond on your email the next day. Okay, so please don't worry about that. Okay, so guys, any other questions that you guys might have, please let me know now so that I can help you guys or answer any questions that you have. I don't know what is in the test because we don't set the test. So unfortunately, I can't tell you what is inside of the test. I'm just as guys, when you see the test is when I'm going to see the test, essentially. Okay, so yeah, we're all going to see the test together, but we can prepare through past papers on what the test might more or less look like. Okay, guys, if you don't have any questions for me, guys, oh wow, then class is done for today. Please start studying, summarizing, do your ICE tasks. What else? Okay, that's it. Okay, so guys, that's it for today. Thank you for joining my very late class. Once again, truly sorry. Yeah, okay, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and remember to ask questions if you guys have any questions. Okay, bye, guys.